This is the first unsealed file of a new investigative sequence from the winter of 2026. It was sent to our official submission ledger by a backcountry wildlife surveyor working a solo contract in the isolated peaks of Blueridge, Georgia. People who live in the city think the wilderness is peaceful, but those who live deep in the backcountry timberlands know that the forest operates under a completely different set of rules. You do not leave your porch light off after midnight. And you never, ever call back into the dark when you hear a familiar voice. Today, we open the timeline of his first mistake. Because out in the isolated timber, something has learned how to copy us. The surveyor lived in a primitive log cabin situated on a remote mountain ridge. The nearest unpaved logging road was a 3-mile hike through dense brush. His isolation from civilization was absolute. For the first 3 weeks, the environment was normal. But on a freezing Tuesday midnight, a sudden, unnatural silence fell over the mountain. The wind died down completely. The crickets stopped. The woods went dead. A sound drifted out from the dense pine canopy roughly 80 yards into the dark. It was a voice. Clear. Soft. It was a perfect imitation of his older sister, calling out his childhood nickname over and over. The surveyor froze. His sister was currently in Chicago, but the voice in the woods sounded like she was standing just beyond his porch light, whispering for him to come help her. Driven by an intense need for a rational explanation, he spent the next morning deploying 3 high-definition cellular trail cameras. He aimed them directly at the coordinates of the voice. At exactly 3:14 a.m., his phone vibrated violently against his nightstand. Camera 2 had triggered. He unlocked the screen, expecting to see a stray deer or a black bear passing through the brush. The uploaded image made his breath catch in his throat. Hidden behind a thick pine trunk was a shape. It was impossibly tall, with limbs that were stretched out of proportion. It possessed no eyes, no nose, and no mouth. But it was wearing a tattered, muddy duplicate of the exact jacket he had left hanging on his porch hook. As he stared at the image, a soft thud jarred the back of his cabin. The entity wasn't out on the ridgeline anymore. A new notification flashed on his screen. Camera 3, mounted directly onto his own porch pillar, was uploading a live video stream. The creature was leaning against his front door, its neck unnaturally elongated, and from the phone's speaker it began to whisper his name. It was using his very own voice. This concludes episode 1 of The Voice in the Timber. The remaining files of the surveyor's final night were recovered by a search party. Subscribe immediately to Untold Retaliation to ensure you are notified the exact second episode 2 drops. The next unsealed log reveals what happened when the glass on his back door finally began to crack.